Coming up on Hoge and Jahns, it is week 18. We've made it to the end of the regular season, and the whole season comes full circle. Ben Johnson versus the Lions. We're going to break it down. Colton Pouncy, who covers the Lions for The Athletic, will join us. We'll make our picks. It all starts right now on Hoge and Jahns. What's up? Welcome in our last preview episode of the regular season. And then it'll be playoffs next week. Playoffs? It happened. It is happening. And it sure looks like it's probably going to be Bears-Packers. As the Eagles will be sitting their starters. And the Bears are favored to beat the Lions. We'll see. I mean, that's why we're here to talk about.
Are you okay with that? I'm okay with that.
With what?
The Packers?
Yeah. No, that's how it should be. I think it's very important that you get the 2 seed. So you at least host the divisional round. You're guaranteed to host the divisional round if you win the first game. And then if you, in this year where we keep talking about how wide open it is, the 1 seed could easily lose. Then you could potentially have the NFC Championship game at home too. So I think that's pretty crucial. We'll see if the Bears can get it done, because I also don't think that this is necessarily the easiest game in the world, because I don't think the Lions are going to lay down, which is what we're going to talk about a lot here on this episode. Meanwhile, though, it is worth pointing out, if we are looking ahead a week from now, Johns, the Packers are in a position where they can rest everybody, and they are resting everybody. Both of their injured quarterbacks will not play this week. Clayton Tune's going to start. They get to really treat this like a bye week. They also went out and claimed Trayvon Diggs. So they're trying to load up here quickly to try to, get back in a positive spot after losing, 3 games in a row?
Yeah.
Are they at now? And it'll probably be 4 because the Vikings are trending in the opposite direction. And, I think they're favored by like 7.5 points or something. Isn't that on the that's on the list of games we'll pick later? So one team's got to play hard this week in the Bears, and the other kind of gets a bye week, and that'll certainly factor into that game next week, assuming that is the game we end up with. But for now, we do have the Lions this week, and it does sort of feel like this whole 12-month saga, Johnsy's coming full circle here with the Lions coming to Soldier Field.
There's something poetic about it, right? Romantic about to use some literary words. In week 2, that almost had to happen. Like the Lions had to blow out the Bears. It was ugly, but it spurred growth. It spurred change. The Bears haven't been the same team since then. They won a little winning streak after that, got better after their bye week. And now here they are, the team in the playoffs, and the Lions are just playing for pride. They're just playing to beat Ben Johnson. That's the storylines. That's the narratives in Detroit. Well, the Bears have bigger things in mind, but obviously securing the 2nd seed comes first.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, that's the thing about this Lions team. They're not going to lie down. Dan Campbell's going to have them fighting. They got a bunch of individual guys playing for pride. They're still a very talented team, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people are surprised that the spread is only 3, but I mean, they're not bad. I mean, the Vegas power ratings still have the Lions as a pretty strong opponent. They have, all pros on that team. Jahmyr Gibbs is always going to be a problem, even if it's been a little bit inconsistent this season. Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he's healthy, is always a problem. I mean, there's this team did score 52 points against this defense back in week,
and the Bears defense just gave up 42.
Right.
On the road in San Francisco. So you would expect some fireworks back and forth for at least a little bit at Soldier Field on Sunday afternoon.
Right. And now I do think part of it also is what you're playing for, because the Bears have a lot of pride too, and they're certainly not happy about how that week 2 game went. Ben Johnson wants to beat the Lions. You could see it in his interviews on Monday, both the press conference he did and his interview with Joniak. He was just ready to turn the page already and focus on beating his former team. So I think in terms of the list of less meaningful or in some cases meaningless games on the noon and 3:25 slates that the CBS and Fox got stuck with this weekend. This is still a pretty good game and should be on Sunday afternoon at Soldier Field.
See, I would argue it's meaningful in the Bears locker room, like beyond the second seed. With everything that's transpired and unfolded for Ben Johnson in his first season, don't you think that locker room wants to deliver a win for him against the Lions, especially after they gave up that 50 burger in Detroit?
100%. And also you look at the vibes of the season and the good, better, best in those locker room celebrations. If you lose this game, I mean, you could argue it's their worst loss of the season.
Which you don't want heading into the postseason.
And you'll quickly say, oh, well, what about when they gave up 52 points to the Lions back in week 2? Well, that kind of factors into this one as well. Like, it's like, yeah, here's what happens if you lose this game. One, you weren't favored back in week 2. This time you're favored. You're supposed to win. You're the division champions now. You would be 2-4 in the division with a loss, which is kind of weird to think about, actually, considering they're the champions of the division, which would speak into those narratives that people don't want to talk about and they want to defend, which is they beat up on their, the other weaker opponents that they had on the schedule. You play who you play, and that's the deal. But and you be going in the playoffs on a 2-game losing streak all of a sudden. And like last Sunday's loss to the 49ers didn't feel like a bad loss. I think this one would. And so your vibes going into the playoffs, the overall point of what I'm trying to say is the whole rust versus rest, or rest versus rust, like whatever you want to say. Like, you have to play your starter, so you can't rest. Well, you don't want to look rusty then. So you want to go out there Sunday. You want to have a good win. You want to feel like you're playing your best football, which is what Ben Johnson's been talking about all season. And if you lose this game, you just wouldn't be playing your best football going into the season. It's just the reality of it. So I do think this is a big game for the Bears, not just in terms of making sure you get the win, but how you actually play going out there. And you want to feel good, like you played a 4-quarter football game.
Beating the Lions, given the connections to Ben Johnson, would be a momentum booster into the playoffs. I think that's what you need if you're a young team with little playoff experience. Like, even the Bears, some of their most experienced players, like DJ Moore, never been on a winning team. Cole Kmet, first playoff, he was on that one in 2020, right?
2020. Jalen Johnson and Cole Kmet were both rookies on that team.
So this is still a bit different, right? That stadium was empty in New Orleans. Yep. This will be a bit different. You're going to have a home game potentially against the rival Green Bay Packers. So I think if you're the Bears, you want to be feeling as good as possible heading into that Green Bay game, not answering questions or trying to fix things that went wrong in your final regular season game against the Lions.
Well, let's jump into the game and the Lions storylines, because this is a week where it's certainly interesting to look at the state of the team that was supposed to be favored to win the division and is not going to make the playoffs, both in terms of what it looks like this week, but also going forward, some big decisions that will have to be made for Dan Campbell's football team. Colton Pouncy covers the Lions for The Athletic. He is a Chicago guy who does a great job covering Detroit and has been on this podcast before. We're going to bring him into the show to preview Bears Lions. All right, let's bring in our guy, Colton Pouncy, Chicago guy who covers the Lions for The Athletic. Always good to have you on the show. Appreciate you jumping on here. Week 18, and boy, has it changed since the Bears last played the Lions back in week 2.
It definitely has. I don't think a lot of us expected this sort of season for both teams, but it's been fun to watch. I think that's why you love the NFL, the parity. You can go from worst to first in a year like this and first to last where the Lions are right now. So that's why you love the NFL.
What has surprised you the most? The Bears' rise, and then probably hearing from all your family members about it, or the Lions' demise, their kind of fall from grace?
Probably the Bears' rise. I mean, I don't think the Lions, for it to work this way, like, I think a lot of things need to go wrong. So, maybe that is surprising in some ways. But when you look at the Lions' problems, it's what we always thought. It was the offensive line when Frank Ragnow retired, losing a star coordinator like Ben Johnson, which was going to happen eventually. It was just a lot of compounding things at once for things to go wrong with the Lions. But with the Bears, I thought they'd be better. I just didn't expect them to go from, fourth to first, grind out these close wins. And for them to really kind of find their groove here, especially late in the season, it's been kind of fun to watch. So that's probably been the more surprising thing. I thought they would, make that jump in year one under Ben Johnson, because that team had talent. It's just really coaching, in my opinion. And you added some pieces as well. But to me, to see the rise this year for that Bears team so quickly has probably been the biggest surprise to me.
At the risk of asking you a very loaded question, what has gone wrong for the Lions? What are the key things that either you guys expected or didn't expect that have resulted in this team missing the playoffs?
Yeah, I think, I'm not going to say coaching doesn't matter. It absolutely does. I think one of the reasons the Lions went 15-2 last year with so many injuries was, one, Ben Johnson and what he was able to do with the offense over there, and two, Aaron Glenn's ability to keep things afloat. And even the guys they were bringing off the street when that defense was so injured, they all knew what they were doing out there. So Lions have had injuries this year, but defensively, it seems like there are times where the communication is off, or they're just not making the same plays they were making at the point of attack last year. And to me, that has a little bit to do with coaching. And offensively, I think where they miss Ben Johnson the most is probably, he's so good at dialing up the right play at the right time. I'm sure as Bears fans have learned this year, when you have to have a guy to have it play in the fourth quarter, it feels like the Lions have sort of missed that, and they're playing catch up and they're trying to work their way back when they fall behind, and they just don't have that spark, that same spark that they had last year. I think that spark is in Chicago now, if you want to say that. But to me, a lot of it starts with the offensive line. If we're talking personnel now, it starts with the offensive line, because what they did, losing Frank Ragnow in June really set them back. If he retired in early March, late February, you could kind of plan for that and say, okay, let's get someone in free agency. Let's target a center in the draft, maybe at a higher spot. But when he retired so late, it really set them back, and he was able to kind of cover up for a lot of their deficiencies. They let Kevin Zeitler, another veteran guard, in free agency. They let him walk. I think the idea was, let's go young there, Christian Mahogany, let's get Tate Ratledge in here, and Frank will be the glue guy in the middle while we kind of transition these young guards. When Frank retired, that created a need at center. They moved veteran Graham Glasgow to center. He has not had a great year. Those two young guys have had their ups and downs naturally, as you would expect for two young players like that. And that interior offensive line has been a major problem. They've allowed the second fastest time to pressure among offensive linemen in the NFL. So that quick interior pressure for a quarterback like Jared Goff has really thrown off the timing of this offense, which is really timing and rhythm based. So a lot of their offensive inefficiencies have come with the offensive line and the run game and pass protection, and that's kind of doomed them in some ways.
So when Dan Campbell takes over play calling for John Morton, our natural reaction here in Chicago is, oh, they must miss Ben Johnson. They can't replace him. What was it like covering that? And there's got to be more layers to that story than we know here in Chicago, right?
Yeah, I mean, one thing Morton said was, hey, it's protection. We got to protect better. Whenever we'd ask him why the offense looks a little off. And it was a weird conversation to have, because at the time they're still leading the NFL in scoring. So it's like, probably to the outside observer, you're like, well, they're doing fine, but there were struggles with the run game. It's really every time they played a defensive line with a pulse, they got bullied, which is kind of what we're not used to seeing. So Morton attributed a lot of that to the offensive line, which I didn't disagree with. It's just Morton's kind of an old school guy, doesn't really have the bedside manner. So when it comes out from him, it sounds like he's just putting all the blame on the offensive line, and players probably didn't love that. And one thing Campbell said was, we need to get this back on track. I want to kind of show him what I want from this offense, what I want this to look like. So Dan took over, I think, going into that Commanders game in week 10, reading glasses and all on sidelines. And for a while, it looked like it was going to get back on track. He was getting Jameson Williams the ball. That was something John Morton could not figure out how to do. The run game was better against the Commanders. And I think a lot of us were like, okay, they're back on track. Only to later learn the Commanders defense is just that bad. So it's been up and down since then. And a lot of the issues that Morton was dealing with, Campbell dealt with as well, in terms of, hey, we want to get the ball downfield to Jameson Williams, but if the protection's getting home in 2.5 seconds or less, it's going to make it hard for Jared to have the time to survey the whole field. Their run game is kind of fallen off a cliff in the last 5 games. The consistency has not been there. It's either Jahmyr Gibbs has 180 yards and 3 touchdowns, or 40 yards, and the Lions are struggling to run the ball. They have to throw it 38, 40 times a game, which is what they don't want. So I do think it all starts with the offensive line for where things have gone wrong this year, but And I don't want to put that all on Morton, but I think he could have probably handled it better and kind of spoken highly of his guys while trying to figure things out.
So I know he was asked about his future yesterday. What is the assumption that the Lions will probably go out and get a new OC this year and one that'll resume play calling? Because, I mean, from the outside looking in, Dan Campbell was never known as like an elite play caller by any means or even that experienced at it. So I'm not sure that that's the best route going forward for him to just keep play calling duties.
Yeah, he had never done it before he got to Detroit. I think he did a little bit in 2021 when, he demoted Anthony Lynn before eventually firing him and replacing him with Ben Johnson the next year, but that wasn't really his MO. And I think he likes doing it. Like he's told us over the years, like, hey, even when Ben took over in 22, we're just like, hey, so Ben's calling plays, right? He's like, you never know. I kind of like doing this. So I don't think that itch ever went away, but I do think Campbell's probably better served as a guy that kind of surveys everything and it's probably taken away from the defense a little bit, having to call plays and, help Morton with the game plan. I think he's better served in that sort of CEO role where you have an offensive play caller also be your OC. So that's sort of our assumption out here. I will say Campbell and Morton go way back. And I think Campbell was kind of smart enough to realize I can't put this all on Morton because the offensive line, like he even took over plays and faced the same struggles that Morton did in some ways, if not worse, because they had more injuries to the offensive line when Dan took over. So he probably knows, like, if I fire him, I'm almost making him a scapegoat. But, I mean, that's just kind of the reality. I don't think you can – I don't know too many cases of a play caller or an offensive coordinator that loses play calling responsibilities that comes back the next year and resumes that role. Normally you move on and you try to figure something else out. And play calling aside, like an offensive line aside, there are times where, speaking of Ben Johnson, like when you watch this team play the Vikings, and I don't know how many people watch that Christmas game. I wish I didn't have to, but
I was actually in Minnesota myself, so I was actually
okay.
I was watching it with a bunch of Vikings fans in my family.
There you go. I'm sure they had a very Merry Christmas there. But you're watching that game, and like the zero blitzes that Flores was throwing at them, they had answers for those in the past, and they were able to adjust quickly. And the one thing I saw from this team on Christmas is that one, I don't think they wanted to be there. And two, they were not adjusting to what Brian Flores was doing. I think that's play calling, that's coaching. That's something that Ben Johnson probably would have helped out here like he did in past years. So if you want to move on from that and say we need someone that can adjust quickly to what other defenses are throwing at us, I think that makes perfect sense.
So beyond the schematics, when you're watching things unfold here in Chicago with Johnson, the guy's taking off his shirt.
Yeah,
he's feeding Chicago hot dogs. He's got good, better, best going viral. Like, you covered him. Like, what do you make of it? What do you think the Lions make of it?
I'm sure a couple players miss it. I'm sure some coaches miss having him here. He's such a great offensive mind. One thing I was telling people this offseason is, like, I think Ben's a coach that needs to have success early so he can get players to buy in, because he's not the rah-rah guy. He's not the Campbell guy that can, endure a 3-13-1 season and still have guys, fully believing. I don't know if Ben's that guy. So I always thought he was going to need to have early success. And when he started racking up some of those wins, I'm like, this is exactly where he needs to be. And then to see him embrace the city the way he has, when he took his shirt off, I was like, he's got him. Like, he probably had him before then, but that's the moment where I think a lot of people in the city bought in. Like, my parents saw that. Like, my brother is not a football guy. He's a basketball guy. He started watching the Bears after that. So that's the stuff I look for. And my friends are all texting me like, this guy's awesome. So it's definitely been cool to see what he's done there in Chicago so quickly. And, I think he kind of reignited that spark. Not to say Bears fans aren't passionate, but, they had some down years. And to see him kind of bring it back so quickly with his coaching staff and the job that those players have done as well, I think it's been really cool for the city.
So I do want to ask you some more about this team and some of these players, but coming off of what you just said with how Ben Johnson's captivating the city and the Lions obviously losing him, what type of pressure is building here on Dan Campbell for next season, do you think? Like, I listened to Bill Simmons' podcast. They've been joking for weeks. Like, what year is Dan Campbell going to be on NFL on Fox? Like, I'm one of those studio shows. Like, how quickly is this thing going to unravel? I don't think I'm of that mind. But it has been pretty fascinating to kind of watch this, what seemed like a wide open window for the Lions sort of shrink and narrow here pretty quickly.
Yeah, no one out here is really talking about that yet. I think it would probably take like 2.5 more seasons of this for it to look like, oh, he's on the hot seat. What are they going to do with him? Just because I know how the front office, how the higher ups in this organization feel about him. Like, they love the guy. He's not going anywhere right now. Now, I think there's a sense of urgency because you're in this window, right, where you have all these players, you locked up your core. So you can't say, oh, we had attrition or these guys are leaving here. That's not really the case. These guys are all signed long-term. So, and they've proven where they can go with the right coaching. So to me, it's about getting it back on track. I don't know if you guys are DVOA guys. I think the Lions are still third in DVOA, and at 8-8, they're like the third or fourth best 8-8 team of all time through like week 17, which kind of speaks to like, they've had some bad luck. Things haven't gone their way, but they're not that far off. And that's something that Dan keeps saying to us, at least. I think he truly believes that. And it's like, fix the trenches. The offensive line, allowing the quick pressure. Defensive line has been one of the slowest, defensive lines to pressure in the NFL on the flip side. So those are all conversations that we had this offseason. It's like, if you can't fix the trenches, and that's what you say you're all about, it's going to have a trickle-down effect to everything else. And it really has in a lot of ways. So I think they know where the issues are. They just got to go and attack it. I think last offseason, they got a little complacent with where they were. They said, hey, we're coming off a 15-2 season. We don't really need to rock the boat that much. And why should they, right? Like, I kind of agree with that. The injuries to the defense really, screwed them over in the end there. But coming back a year later and going 8-8 is not good enough, or 8-9, 9-8, whatever it's going to be. That's not good enough here. And they know that. So as long as that sense of urgency is there and Dan makes the necessary changes, and Brad Holmes also, attacks free agency, attacks the draft in ways that he has in the past 2 cycles, I think they'll be fine.
Well, I saw you had a good piece up yesterday on The Athletic about a bunch of veteran names, names that Bears fans know well: Graham Glasgow, DJ Reader, Alex Anzalone, just a whole bunch of guys, including David Montgomery, potentially, who maybe the Lions are going to have to make some tough decisions on whether to bring back, whether to let go. What is the overall health of this organization from a cap, draft capital, all these tough decisions that they're going to have to make to sort of retool on the fly? Are they in position where they can do that without losing too much?
Yeah, I'm curious how they operate this offseason, because they do have some guys that have been around here probably since 21 or 22, 23, like when they first started building this thing, that are going to be free agents. And they're not, major guys like Alex Anzalone, DJ Reader. Those are starters for you. They're not star players, but they are big locker room guys, big culture guys. So if you let those guys walk, you have to say we feel comfortable with the young guys that we've drafted and developed in taking on that leadership role and, in continuing that culture, which is so important out here. But also from a personnel standpoint and just a schematic standpoint, I do wonder if they want to get younger and faster in some ways, more athletic, because this defensive scheme, at least, it's the man-heavy system. They like to blitz, but it's like, it almost feels to me like other teams in the NFC North, at least, have kind of figured out how to attack this defense in some ways. And this is year 5 of the scheme, and the injuries have certainly affected it. But if your defense requires you to have 2 shutdown man cover corners, center fielder as a safety, another safety that plays in the box, if that secondary is so important to the operation, where if those guys get hurt, it falls apart, maybe take some pressure off them, maybe play more zone, like give them some space to operate and see the field. So I do wonder if they want to have a scheme change. And if that's the case, you can do that by getting rid of, certain players and trying to tweak some guys that are going to be free agents, maybe let them walk, get a different type of player in here that can do some things that you want to do going forward. So I do think this is a crucial year for defense, offensively in some ways, where they want to take this thing. Again, the core is in place, but it's like the outer skeleton that I think you can change a little bit and, add some speed and athleticism.
As far as this week, you had another piece on the column, on The Athletic, another column, kind of exploring like how the Lions are going to handle this week specifically, with some big picture questions kind of looming. You brought up, the draft position, but also like it's so notable that the Bears' rise has come with like the 4th place in the division schedule. Like the Lions could have that next year, and that would seem to be very advantageous for them to flip things around almost instantly from this year to next year. So how do you think they're approaching this one? I know what they're saying publicly, but what do you think they're talking about behind the scenes?
Yeah, I don't think Dan has ever talked about a 4th place schedule. That doesn't seem like the Dan Campbell I know. I think he's kind of focused on trying to beat the Bears this week, but we can talk about it. That's fun for us as media. And, the 4th place schedule thing is kind of interesting. Like, I think the Bears have benefited from their schedule, but it's also, I think, was one of their 4th place games the 49ers? Is that, I don't know if that lined up this year, but
yeah, it was.
Like the 49ers are a good team. Like they're competing for the 1 seed. Like sometimes it lines up in ways that you want. Sometimes it doesn't. Like these teams go from worst to first, and it flips the notion of what this is. So I don't, it's weird to say that sometimes, but I do look at what the 4th place games would be next year for the Lions versus the 3rd place games. I think the 4th place games would be the Cardinals, the Giants, and the Titans, I believe, versus probably the Rams in LA, I think, the Colts, and the Commanders, presumably with a healthy Jane Daniels. So it's 3 games. It's not a lot, but it can make a difference. Like 3 games, you win 3 more games than you did this year. You're talking about an 11-win season. You're in the playoffs right now. So it can add up for sure. But I don't think the Lions are thinking about it that way. I think a lot of those guys want to play. They want to try to beat Ben and try to finish their season on a high note with a winning record and try to be better in 2026.
As far as players like who want to beat Ben, like where is Jared Goff on that list? Especially, I don't know. I feel like the guy's always taking heat for being a product of Sean McVay. Now he's got Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's gone, but he's still having a good year. Like, so where's he on that list?
Yeah, Jared's kind of a petty guy, so I think he'd be up there. And him and Ben have a great relationship. Like, there's no animosity there. But, look, I think I want to go back to like June or something when it was either OTAs or maybe July in training camp when, Jared was asked about, hey, a lot of your success is often attributed to coordinators. Like, that's going to be a narrative. And he's like, it doesn't have to be if you don't ask about it. So he's kind of like sharp with us with that.
Yeah.
So that's in there. Like, he certainly thinks about things like that. Now he's had a great year without Ben. And I actually have more respect for what Jared went through this year, like kind of running for his life some weeks and being sacked more than he's ever been sacked in a single season. And still putting up some really good numbers in the system where the timing has been off sometimes and the run game hasn't been available to him the way it has in past years. So I actually think I have more respect for Jared after watching what he went through this year. But look, that narrative is always going to be there, whether it's McVay or Ben Johnson. The fact that he's a product of his coordinators is something that he's probably just going to have to deal with because it's a national perspective. But I think Jared's had a really good year, and I think he's probably going to try to end it on a high note.
Couple big names on the injury report this week for the Lions, Penei Sewell being one of them, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was a little surprised, honestly, to see St. Brown limited in practice yesterday after that injury he suffered last week in Minnesota towards the end of that game. But Penei has not practiced yet this week. Any gut feelings on the status of those guys going into this game?
Yeah, St. talked yesterday. He's going to try to play. I think part of that is because, he wants to end the year on a high note. But, hey, look, he's in the discussion for first-team All-Pro, and you get a couple more numbers. Pad stats a little bit towards the end of the season. Maybe you work that way in that conversation. I think he'll be a second-team All-Pro if I had to guess where it stands right now because, JSN and Puka have had great years. And maybe Jamar Chase is a third on that list, but Saint's certainly going to try to fight for that, I'm sure. But he wants to play. So I would imagine he plays. Penei, I'm not so sure. If I were the Lions, I'd probably put Penei in bubble wrap or something, duct tape until the 2026 season. Knowing him, he's probably going to try to push it, but we'll see. I think they should be smart with him. Now, Jared might be running for his life, and maybe at that point you say, hey, should we get Kyle Allen ready to play just so we mail it in entirely? But I don't think they're going to do that. So whoever is healthy enough to play, I think they'll play. But whether that's the right thing or not, I don't know.
I haven't looked yet, but what's your pick? What did you send Kevin Fishbane last night?
Yeah, Kevin was in my Slack mentions, begging for a prediction as he always does.
I
think I said 31-24 Bears. I think the Lions will, assuming most of their guys play, I think they're going to try to win this, and they want to not at least they don't want the inverse of what happened in week 2, where you go into the offseason, get your ass kicked by Ben Johnson. Everyone's talking about that all offseason. I don't think they want that. So I think they want to keep it close. But I don't know. I think the Bears, they're going to put some points up for sure. 31 might be light. It might be more than that, but I think they're going to try to put up a fight at least.
All right, man. Well, Colton, we always love having you on the show. Bears fans, you should be following him already. But if you're not, it's at Colton_Pouncy. Check out his work in The Athletic, and we'll see you back here at home over the weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Adam, with Colton picking the Lions, I want to say that Hoge Jahns guests have set a record this year for picking the Bears.
Well, he picked the Bears. He picked the Bears.
Sorry, yes, what I mean. Yes, he picked the Bears. Sorry. So I'm so used to them picking.
I know.
I'm so used to our guys that come in who cover the opposing teams picking the teams.
Yeah, I'm still mad about last week though. You guys ruined my prediction. I'm blaming you. I'm taking 0% of the blame for it. I came out of that show prepared to pick the 49ers, and then you and Vic just ganged up on me and bullied me into picking the Bears, and then the 49ers won.
Anyway, that was a good game. That was a good game. It was a great game.
Anyway, who cares?
Yeah. We won't talk about how Johns went 0-6 on his predictions last week.
I'm not good against picking against the spread.
I went 1-4, and our guy Nick, who sends me our results every week, goes, and it's a good thing your internet crapped out at the end because you probably would have gone 1-5. And I was like, you know what? That's fair.
It's good.
Although I actually was, full disclosure, going to pick the Falcons, not to win the game, but to cover against the Rams.
Hold on. You actually texted this. What was it?
Didn't I?
Your internet went out. Hold on. I'm going to go back in time. We text each other too much on this thread here.
I can't remember if I actually picked you. Did I give you my prediction? I think I did, actually.
You did, but we saw it too late.
It's not in here, though, is it?
Maybe you texted me separately. Anyway.
I thought I texted it, too.
Did Matt Simon pick? He picked the Bears this year, too, didn't he? So Colton Pouncy.
In the first game, because we didn't have Mom for the second game. I'm not sure. I think he picked the Packers.
No. Mike Heller still picked the Packers.
Yeah, he did. But he was really, you could tell he wanted to pick the Bears.
I think later on Twitter he called like Caleb Williams the best quarterback in the NFC North, and that seemed to get everybody going in Wisconsin.
Well, at least, it wasn't like the other radio hosts in Wisconsin. It was like, he makes the Bears worse.
Yeah,
that's
strange.
The craziest. I think that's the craziest take I saw in the NFL the entire year. I mean, it's one thing to like not believe in Caleb or like, hey, he's got this deficiency, but to say he makes the Bears worse when the guy has 6 four-quarter comebacks and NFL record this year, it's like, what in the world are you talking about?
Then you get the 49ers game after that, and then you're just like, yeah, that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's terrible. All right. Well, we got more to get to here, including our predictions for this one. But you're right, it is a good point. The times are changing. Our guests are coming on this show and picking the Bears to win. It's a good point. We will take our first time out here. Don't go anywhere though, because our 3 big questions are coming up, and your over-unders that you submit every week, as well as our predictions for this game. Should be a lot of fun. We'll get into all that next. But first,
Adam, we're getting through the holidays, but it's still busy. I know I'm busy. Practices, trips up to Hallis Hall, Soldier Field, tailgates, all these countless grocery store and gas runs. Puts a strain on your wallet. That's why the free Upside app is here to help you earn extra cash back on things you're already doing, like filling up the pump, grabbing dinner on the go, or just making one more trip to the grocery store. With the Upside app, you're keeping more in your pocket during the season you spend the most. And yes, it's cash back, over $1 billion given back to users so far. The free Upside app gets you cash back on the daily essential things like gas, groceries, and dining. I think there are, 100,000 more than that? Gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants in the app. So please check it out. The Upside app has given back $1 billion to its users. To find out how much you could earn, download the free Upside app and use promo code Hoge Jahns to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. It's an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas using promo code Hoge and Jahns.
Yeah, we are definitely getting to that point of winter where you're looking for some type of escape, somewhere to go. Well, we got the place for you, because if you're looking for a winter escape that blends adventure, comfort, and a touch of magic, Sand Valley, it's not just a golf resort, guys. It's a year-round experience. Whether you're planning a weekend trip for 2, an adventure for your small group, or a memorable family getaway, Sand Valley is the perfect winter destination. You can spend your day snowshoeing across peaceful trails, fat tire biking, ice skating on a pond, laughing your way down the sledding hill. They even got curling. Check it out. When the chill sets in, too, you can cozy up inside of one of Sand Valley's restaurants or bars where good food and warm company always hit the spot. Sam Valley also hosts unforgettable seasonal events, from restorative wellness retreats to high-energy pond hockey tournament. Winter is calling. Sand Valley is ready to welcome you. Book your trip at sandvalley.com today. All right, Johnsy, it is that time.
Three big questions. Three big questions is brought to you by Upside. Download the free Upside app and use promo code Hoge Jahns to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. All right, number one. Adam Hoge, how confident are you that the Bears defense will be better against the Lions after what transpired in the Bay?
I'm pretty confident. I think, Ben made sure to mention this a couple times this week about, hey, you got to give the 49ers credit too. I mean, I think they ran into a buzzsaw at kind of the wrong time. I think if they had played the 49ers earlier in the season, there's a team that lost to Jacksonville. Jacksonville turned out to be pretty good, but they lost some games earlier in the year that were somewhat head scratchers. They were a little bit inconsistent, and now they seem to be clicking on all cylinders offensively, to the point where they did what they did even without George Kittle and Trent Williams out there. So I think they are a team that's playing their best football going into January at the right time. And I think that was now, that being said, I'm not trying to defend the Bears defense. It was very disappointing last week, but my point is the Lions are not that. The Lions, as we heard from Colton Pouncy, have a bunch of issues with, I think, play calling and the running game right now, and they are the opposite of clicking on all cylinders. Now, they still have talent. They still have players you have to find a way to match up against, and it would not shock me if, there goes Jahmyr Gibbs and there goes Jameson Williams once or twice in this game. It's bound to happen, but I don't think that they're going to be giving up 40 points in this game. That would shock me.
Do I trust Dennis Allen, Al Harris, and the rest of the Bears coaching staff on defense to find answers against Jared Goff this week? Yeah, I do. Enough to win. Same thing might apply in the first round of the playoffs against the Packers. Like, where I get concerned again is if the Bears reach the point of facing the 49ers, Seahawks, or Rams. Like, Dennis Allen's going to be pulling all-nighters trying to find solutions. And truthfully, you are what you are at one point. Like, you're not, even Trayvon Diggs, he's not coming in to save the Bears. That's not happening. Like, you are what you are just in terms of what your personnel is, and you have to get by with what you have. So, do I trust them this week? Yeah, they should be better against the Lions. Should be.
What else? Go ahead. I'm listening.
Number two, how would you rank the starting quarterbacks in the NFC North right now?
Wow.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, because I'm debating how viral I want to go.
Oh,
It's like one of those. I gotta check myself here for a second.
See, I think some nuance belongs in this conversation. Like, if we're rating, like, how you feel about them going into the playoffs, Caleb Williams is number one. Without question, he's number one. Look what happened in San Francisco. He's coming off he's in the middle of his best stretch of football right now. So to me, he's number one. Jared Goff is out of the playoffs. Jordan Love, he's hurt. He hasn't played since that Bears game.
Yeah. To be fair, he's cleared now, and he would have been playing this week.
Still hasn't played. Hasn't played. And then obviously JJ McCarthy is hurt again. So, like, how do I feel about them going into the playoffs? It's Caleb Williams number one, Jordan Love number two, Jared Goff, who I still think is a top 10 quarterback, top 5 quarterback in certain statistical categories. He's 3, and then whatever happens in Minnesota is number 4.
Yeah. So, look, I'm going to try to say this without disrespecting Jordan Love, because we can't forget what we were talking about Jordan Love after the first Packer game, which was like, he's really good. He's good. He's very good. And and he played really well in that game. And I know Malik Willis came in and like technically played better than he did the rest of that second game, but I don't know if that comeback happens if Jordan Love plays the rest of that game. We'll never know. That's not really the point of the question. But here's why I'm going to put Caleb Williams number 1 over Jordan Love. Because Iceman, Caleb Williams keeps showing you time and time again that he is going to be clutch when it matters most. Jordan Love and the Packers keep bowing out in the playoffs. They're the team that gets there and then doesn't go far enough. That's why there's talk right now about Matt LaFleur being on the hot seat and the future of Brian Gutekunst and how this is going to be handled by, their new team president, Ed Pouncy. With Caleb, with what we know about him and see from him so far, even in the games where the last play wasn't made in the end zone where they ended up losing against the Packers and 49ers, he still got them down there and in position to be one play away. And that's where I think that is what Caleb Williams has been throughout his football career at other levels and is showing he already is here at the NFL level. So when you say right now, which one of these quarterbacks I would want to be going into the playoffs with, my answer is Caleb Williams. Then it's Jordan Love. Then it would be Jared Goff. And then it's J.J. McCarthy after that.
Let's further this conversation. Number 3, how would you rank the head coaches in the NFC North right now?
I mean, if you were drafting the head coaches right now, I don't know. Everybody would take Ben Johnson number 1, wouldn't they?
I think Kevin O'Connell still has a good argument for that.
Yeah.
He's one win again from having another winning season. He turned Sam Darnold's career around. Like, I would have confidence in him to make something out of J.J. McCarthy next year.
That's a good point. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of these 4, but
agreed.
I mean, I like all 4 of the head coaches. The weirdest thing though for me, and I think you're seeing it this year with the Lions, I'm surprising myself by saying this, but I think I'd put Dan Campbell 4th. And that's me, one of the biggest like Dan Campbell fans that exists. I love the guy. I love everything he represents. But the reality is, in today's NFL, you need the head coach, play caller, quarterback pairing. And they're showing this year that they miss Ben Johnson, and the Bears have that now. And same thing with Kevin O'Connell. That's why you would take Kevin O'Connell number 1. Once they figure out the quarterback thing again, it should work. And then Matt LaFleur, here's the funny thing about Matt LaFleur and the fallout of them losing to the Ravens last week. All of a sudden, the fire Matt LaFleur talk starts up again. And I get it, because you get some fatigue when a guy's been there that long. I'm literally texting with Bears fans in the middle of that game going, man, Matt LaFleur's a good coach. What he's doing with Malik Willis is very, very impressive. So you want to go ahead and fire him? I think whoever you hire is instantly the worst coach in the NFC North. That would be kind of a crazy decision to me to do that. It's a great division of coaches. I think the one pushback I give you on Kevin O'Connell, I realize he's not the GM, but doesn't he deserve some criticism for the quarterback decisions and being in the situation they are now, not maybe recognizing or believing even what they did with Sam Darnold last year, what he did with Sam Darnold and letting him walk, and
maybe some overconfidence?
I still think at the end of the day I can defend the moves that they made, but to go all in on J.J. McCarthy in the draft, to do what you did with Sam Darnold, let him walk to another NFC team that's now possibly the number 1 seed if they win this week. Kevin O'Connell's right in the middle of all of those decisions. So I think that you have to put some of that on him.
Well, let me clarify. I don't know if I would put Kevin O'Connell number 1. but I think it's a great debate. And I think you bring up the best point yet. In the NFC, the Bears, the Packers, and the Vikings all have head coach play callers, and they've all proven to be pretty darn good at it. Not only that, like beyond that, they're actually pretty good head coaches too,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of getting everybody behind them, buying in, all the leadership of or leaders of men. All they all are. So that's where Dan Campbell. Like it's going to be interesting to see what he does in the offseason because he's got to find a new offensive coordinator. He's got to fix that. The John Morton hire didn't work. How about this? In any, whether it's Ben Johnson 1A, Kevin O'Connell 1B, Matt LaFleur 1C, I think you can make a debate about really all of them. And maybe the only reason you argue against Ben Johnson is the track record is a bit smaller.
I think every fan base, but maybe the Packers right now would argue that their coach should be number one. And I actually think there's still a lot of Packer fans that would say their guy should be number one.
Yeah.
But some are just getting fed up with the fact that they keep getting to this point of the season. And then I think this is the third straight year they might be the 7 seed.
But that's the stat.
Yeah.
Where Matt LaFleur has not finished better than the 7th seed without Aaron Rodgers.
He also missed the playoffs the last year with Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
So
And the 7th seed is something added in what, 2020?
yes,
Because the Bears got it.
The Bears were the first 7 seed, at least in the NFC. It's a great discussion though. Should we get to over-unders?
Yes. That is 3 big questions brought to you by Upside. Download the free Upside app and use promo code Hoge Jahns to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. Over-unders. Let's get through these quickly. From Tony. Over-under amount of times this week, the week 2 50 burger on Bears is mentioned during the game. 2.5.
I'd say over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think over. There'll be a graphic early in the game, and then there'll be a couple
Brady will mention it.
comments. We get Brady again this week?
Yep.
Just calling all the Bears games.
He loves it.
Get him in the playoffs too.
Playoffs. Chris from Chris. Over under 1.5 number of takeaways for the Bears. I'm going to go over. Interception, forced fumble combo.
Yeah, you know what? I like over on this one too. I'll take over. I think there's at least 2.
From T Marsh, our guy. Tyson Bagent snaps. Half.
You know, there's an interesting there's a couple things there. I mean, is there a world where this game actually gets out of hand? And you, just because the Lions are, Colton mentioned it, you know, if Jared's running for his life, do you also do the Lions make a decision to turn to their backups at some point? I don't.
Does someone whisper into Ben Johnson's headset, the Eagles are up by 25 in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, or down. Well, I don't. It's just, that's what's weird about them sitting their starters. Like, I still could see them beating the Commanders.
Oh, they're favored still.
Yeah. But you also have the element that we haven't seen in a few weeks where Bagent's gotten on the field sometimes.
No, I'm so over.
What? But it's been weeks. It's been like 2 months, I feel like. But do we see a Bagent?
The trick plays.
Trick play.
That's a good point, especially against the Lions. Absolutely over.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. Maybe that's something you want to reintroduce on film before you go into the playoffs. Because I don't think the Packers saw Bagent at all. I don't think he played in either of those games.
Luther Burden receiving yards, 99.5.
Well, the good news is he's fine. He's full go in practice yesterday. So that turned out to be exactly what we thought it was. Just a little bit of a quad bruise from a knee. Seems like Rome will be out again. I like how he's playing. Sure, let's go over.
Yeah, me too. Why not?
Let's go over.
Feed him.
Mm-hmm.
From B-Man. Easy one for this week. Over under Caleb Williams passing yards, 270.5. Let's get 4K.
So this is fascinating to me because, and appreciate you, B-Man, bringing this up. Both Ben and Caleb answered the questions the way they should have been answered, which was, yeah, it'd be nice, but we got to win the game first. I also think both of them are a little bit diabolical in that they do care about this a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like it's got to be in the back of their minds a little bit. So, and here's the other thing too. And I realize you could probably say this about every quarterback in the league. But if you really look at how some of these games have gone for Caleb this year with some of the drops at times, you know, even but some that are on him too. If he hits Devin Duvernay when he was wide open, you know, coming across, maybe he walked. Like every game I feel like has had a 40 to 50 yard, sometimes more, missed opportunity. I think at one point Caleb led the league in yards missed because of drops. You know, he should have blown by 4,000 weeks ago is my point, or at least a couple weeks ago. So I think you saw it last week as they start to fine-tune things more. And again, I know I keep saying this. I think that'll mostly be next season rather than this year, but I think he's going to start to go over 300 more regularly. Once the stuff, you're going to start to see how Jared Goff this year, it hasn't really been that great of a year. Oh, but you look up, yeah, he's already over 4,000 yards. You know what I mean? Like it's just going to come with more completions and that thing. So I don't know, Johns, the way this season's gone, I'm going to say over.
I'm going to go over too.
It just happens.
If the Bears are getting at 100 receiving yards from Luther Burden, then that helps. The yak yardage is going to help them with Luther Burden, Colson Loveland included. They're more, their target load last week against the 49ers, I think, tells the story. I think the same type of target load is going to happen this week against the 49ers. They're becoming the Bears' most explosive playmakers. Not to mention, DJ Moore only had like one catch for 7 yards against the 49ers. That's going to change this week as well. I think Caleb Williams is going to become the first Bears quarterback at 4,000. It's going to happen this week.
That'd be cool. That'd be a cool way to end the season.
All right, quickly from Oren. Ben Johnson goes into his bag of trick plays. Example, a stumble bomb, 2.5. I'm going to go under. I think maybe you get 1.
I'm going to go under, but I'm going to give you the specific play. This is a game where the offensive lineman catches a touchdown.
From Tyson Bagent?
That would be next level. This is the week, which, by the way, if that happens, the city's getting hot dogs again.
Then yeah.
But how that would just be the perfect way to end the season.
Mm-hmm.
You get the win over the Lions. Caleb goes over 4,000. And the Wiener Circle's giving everybody hot dogs again because of their challenge that's been out there since October, which is if a defensive or offensive player scores a touchdown, a non-defensive touchdown for the defensive guys. It's got to be an offensive touchdown with an offensive lineman or a defensive player. Hot dogs.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right.
Fitz, seeding over under 2.5 under. The Bears are going to get that second seed. And you'll hear why soon.
It's kind of a mind. The over-under on that one's weird. I guess technically under because the number would be 2, but it feels like over because you're ranked higher.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, good over-unders there. And good. The 3 questions kind of blew my mind a little bit in the head coach conversation.
It's fun to talk about.
100%. All right. We got to get to our prediction. But first,
Adam, what kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? Podcast host with a guy?
Yes, I want to be doing
me.
Hoge Jahns.
Looking
that merch that you got, courtesy of a store powered by Shopify.
Look
That's
at that.
exactly what I dreamed about when I was a kid, before Shopify even existed.
Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. As Adam just said, Shopify even powers the CHGO merch store. We can get a shirt like this. Look at that, the new Hoge Jahns one.
It's good.
Good, right? So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity.
And you know the moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses just somewhere bad, somewhere where you don't have them. I mean, maybe because it's the winter now. Maybe you lose them on the ski slopes or something like that, or you fall and they break. It happens. Or you just do what we all kind of do sometimes. You put them on the roof of your car and then you drive away. Then they get smashed or lost. It happens. But this is why you want to get Shady Rays, because Shady Rays changed the game with their sunglasses. Their sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. They are seriously affordable. And here's the wild part, because if you do any of those things I just mentioned, you lose them, you break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements, no questions asked. So you can wear your sunglasses without fear, whatever you're doing, hiking, concerts, skiing, on the boat in the summer, whatever it is. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. So we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, John Z, let's get into it. It is time. Predictions. Fox 325. Lions at Bears. Once again, Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady on the call. The Bears are only 3-point favorites.
I blame that on the defense. I'm going to go Bears 30, Lions 20. I think the defense bounces back. They will get turnovers. They will get takeaways, I should say. Again, this week, Jared Goff is coming off, a big week of giving the ball away. Last time against the Vikings, I know the Vikings are playing aggressive football under Brian Flores. I think I think Dennis Allen can take some lessons out of this one and get after Jared Goff. And it just feels right, just in terms of writing the story of this season, by ending the Lions season, advancing to the playoffs with the feel-good victory, it just feels what's next for the Chicago Bears. So Caleb Williams has a good day. The run game gets going. The Bears win 30-20, and the Bears celebrate their first 4,000-yard passer in team history.
So 30-20 would put you right at 50 points. The over-under is 50.5. I'm actually going to go a little bit lower scoring. I think this is inflated a little bit because of what the Bears did defensively last week, and I think that they play a little bit better. This week, I think they get a couple takeaways, which help. I'm going to go Bears 26, Lions 20. I think it stays within a touchdown. I think this might be another week where you need a little fourth quarter heroics. I think the Lions are competitive. There might even be some frustrating moments in this football game. I just don't think the Lions. I think the Lions are still a pretty solid football team and are not going to quit at all. So I think this one comes down to the fourth quarter. Maybe Caleb needs to make some plays again. Maybe it doesn't quite come down to the last play. I do think the Bears ultimately cover that 3-point spread, but maybe a little bit closer than everybody wants it to be. Bears 26, Lions 20.
Bold predictions.
I already kind of gave mine away, but the offensive lineman touchdown.
Okay. I'm going to go, it's been a long time, Cole Kmet touchdown.
Yeah, it has been a while.
And everybody's talking about Colson Loveland, and rightfully so. Cole Kmet hasn't found the end zone in a bit, and I haven't picked him to find the end zone in a bit either. I don't think I've had this bold prediction for a while now. If you've been following us for a while, you know this is kind of a thing. This is the week. Cole Kmet touchdown against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, last touchdown would have been in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Makes sense. All right, there are your predictions and bold predictions for Bears and Lions.
So take that and think about that for a little bit.
Saturday games, they're good. ABC, ESPN, the early window game. The Panthers and Bucs. The Bucs are 3-point favorites. There's an interesting wrinkle now that if they win, they're not guaranteed the NFC South anymore because they will also need the Falcons to lose on Sunday. But if the Panthers win, they lock it up. Who you got?
So the Buccaneers have lost 4 in a row, 7 out of 8. They are struggling. I don't think there's anything impressive about them whatsoever. If you've been following the Panthers season, and we've talked about this on previous shows, they've gone win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. They're due for the win. I think they look competitive against the Seattle Seahawks for a little bit too last week. So I know Bryce Young didn't play well, but he should play better against the Buccaneers. So give me the Panthers and the points to win outright.
Yeah, the Panthers were in that game. If you watch that game, it was closer than the score indicated, and then they turned the ball over on their first 2 possessions to start the second half, and that just you couldn't do that. I don't think you can do that in this game either. One of the funnier moments of the entire season, I don't know how many people talked about this or showed it, but I was watching that Panthers game, and when Bryce Young threw his second interception, there was a Panther fan who was prepared. He was wearing a Bryce Young jersey, and he had another jersey underneath. So they pan to the crowd, and there's just this fan taking off his Bryce Young jersey, and there's another Panthers jersey. I don't even remember which one it was after that, but it was just like the funniest reaction. He's like, he knew what was going to happen. He's like, I'm going to go to the game today with 2 jerseys so that when Bryce Young sucks, I could take this one off and make my point. And he did. He got it on TV with it. Anyway, I'm going to go with the Panthers. The Bucs are just wandering through the wilderness. I'm honestly surprised they're favored. They're probably still the better team. I was high on the Bucs to start the year. At one point, I thought Baker Mayfield had a legitimate chance to be MVP, and I don't think he's healthy.
Yeah.
I think he's the guy
I
think he's the guy that at the end of the year you find out what he's like having 7 surgeries, and they're patching his. They might have to get him a new leg. Like I don't know.
He's
like,
a hockey player.
He's the hockey
conversation.
He hasn't looked right really since like week 4, to be honest with you. So I'm also going Panthers. All right, next up.
Chris Emma.
Robert, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Rottweiler.
There you go.
Seahawks. So this is the Saturday night game. Again, this is part of an ABC ESPN doubleheader. Seahawks at 49ers to decide the 1 seed. Decide the NFC West, decide the 1 seed. Seahawks are favored by 1.5.
Yeah. I am let me raise my hand on this. I am guilty of underrating the Seahawks for far too long.
Okay.
You've been on them longer than I have. Maybe it's me not trusting Sam Darnold, but Seattle, number 2 in scoring offense, number 8 in total yards in offense, number 2 in scoring defense, number 6 in total yards on defense. They've won 6 in a row. San Francisco's hot. We know Purdy's on a tear. They've won 6 in a row too. So how about that? This is a tough one. Give me the Seahawks. I guess I'm just done doubting them. They win by a field goal. They beat the 49ers. Better defense.
They are better defense, and I think like logically you look at this, like as good as the 49ers have been on offense, this is the one defense that should be able to slow them down. And then you look at the 49ers defense, and you're like, I think there's going to be plenty. I think there's going to be a week here in the playoffs where Sam Darnold just doesn't look great, and but the 49ers defense, you would think like, the way that they move the ball at times this year, they should be okay. I don't know. I'm just high on the 49ers right now. I'm going to go with the 49ers.
So that would give them the number 1 seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice storybook, season then happening for the 49ers.
And they wouldn't have to travel.
Not one bit. Not one bit. That's what the Super Bowl is too.
So for me, it is. I have the Seahawks number 1 in my power rankings. They deserve it. But if we're drafting the quarterbacks going into the playoffs, I'm taking Brock Purdy over Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing. I think the Rams, I know they're struggling, but I think they're better than both those teams. I still
Yeah,
do.
but I agree, but they have totally screwed themselves here from a seeding standpoint,
Mhm.
and they're gonna have a tough road. And I like they scare me, but if the Bears played the Rams at Soldier Field in the middle of January, I would give them more than a chance just because of the weather. So, yeah, the Rams have not really done themselves any favors. All right, next up.
All right, so 2 words, Aaron Rodgers.
Hall of Fame. 2 words.
CBS noon. Packers at Minnesota. The Vikings are 7.5-point favorites as the Packers sit their starters.
We're not going to take a lot of time on this one. You have Clayton Dune versus Max Brosmer. Vikings have won 4 in a row. Packers have lost 3 in a row. But Packers, they should be able to cover this one. I would imagine. I don't think they're going to win, but they should be able to cover.
JJ McCarthy's back too, right?
No, I thought Max Brosmer starting.
Oh, okay. I thought he was playing this one.
Am I wrong? Let's see.
Yesterday was a college football day, but JJ McCarthy expected to return from a hand injury in season finale versus Packers. From Alec Lewis yesterday.
Oh, I guess I was watching too much college football too.
So,
Then it's still same thing.
I don't think this line's high enough, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Clayton too. Look, I might have been the only one who watched that entire Vikings Lions game last week, but like the Vikings are playing, I don't know the exact tiebreakers, but I think this is true. If the Packers didn't have that one tie and instead these records were like, they'd be playing for the playoffs right now. This would be for the last seed in the playoffs. Like the Vikings have been playing better.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. They are playing better. They've won 4 in a row.
They're only a half game behind the Packers.
McCarthy was playing better before his hand injury too.
I guess they would be if they won this game.
All right, so JJ's now starting?
Yes. But didn't you pick the Vikings anyway?
I did.
Yeah. Wait, were you going to flip the other way?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't going to flip. I was just wondering if they could cover the 7.5.
Clayton Tune is starting for the Packers against Brian Flores' defense. I don't know that they're going to score.
Okay, fine. You've talked me into this one. If I'm wrong, you're wrong. Vikings cover.
Like the Vikings might win 8-0 and they would still cover. You know what I mean? Like, no, I like the Vikings a lot in this game.
You better lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Yeah, if the Vikings win, they will finish 9-8 with a winning record. And the Packers would be 9-7-1. So again, that tie, which is funny, you go all the way back to week 4 when they're in Dallas, and that comes down to the tie. And should you be playing for a tie? Should you be playing that whole conversation? You kind of knew in that moment it was going to mess with the standings a little bit. So the Vikings, when it's all said and done, they're a playoff team if they had just gotten that quarterback situation right. Still a good roster.
Do you think they're a playoff team if JJ McCarthy stays healthy all year?
Honestly, even though I'm not a huge JJ guy, yeah, I think that they probably survive enough. Here's the crazier thing. If Carson Wentz stays healthy, they're probably a playoff team. It's the Brosmer games that killed them for the most part. All right. CBS 325, Commanders at Eagles. The Eagles are still a 4.5-point favorite despite the expectation that they're going to sit people.
So Josh Johnson should play for the Commanders. The Commanders have lost 10 out of 11. They've completely given up weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the
What are you
Eagles.
doing?
Yeah. Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just sending it. That's it. Over.
Like raising the roof.
Like Dan Quinn. No, this is raising the roof. This is Dan Quinn. Like, I'm done. Let's get to the offseason.
All right, fair enough. Right now, Washington's picking 7th, according to Tankathon. So they're not going to move up much higher than that. But yeah, they got some room too because New Orleans behind them at 6 and 10. So unless Cleveland's going to go ahead and win this week, which is probably not going to happen. I mean, the point of me bringing that up is Washington really wouldn't hurt themselves from a win, it looks like, actually, from a tanking standpoint. Finally, NBC Peacock. I don't know if I made a pick there. I will take I think I'll take the Commanders to cover 4.5 if the Eagles are sitting people.
Okay.
It's not a really fun one to pick. Here's a good one to pick. NBC Peacock, Sunday night, and 7:20. It is the Ravens at the Steelers, and this will decide the AFC North, as the Steelers could have shut the door on the Ravens last week and did not by losing to the Browns. Who you got?
Well, who's going to be more impactful in their return, Lamar Jackson or TJ Watt?
I'm going to go TJ Watt. I don't know that the Steelers win the game, but 3.5 is too rich for me. I don't know what we're trusting the Ravens here with. And there's certainly a lot of whispers and drama, it seems like, with Lamar Jackson too. Is he 100%? Seems like he's, it's kind of like the Baker Mayfield thing. Seems like he's been playing through stuff even when he has been playing. So I think Aaron Rodgers bounces back a little bit this week too. This game is in Pittsburgh. TJ Watt's back. I kind of actually feel like the Steelers are going to win, but 3.5 is just too much for a Ravens team that you haven't been able to trust all season. So I don't know why all of a sudden we're trusting them with the season on the line. Now, if they do what they did last week and figure out what they should have been doing all year, which is ride Derrick Henry, he'll take you to the playoffs. But it wasn't really until last week that they did that. So I'm gonna go Steelers to at least cover the game.
Yeah, but they did that against a reeling Packers team. I'm not sure they could do the same against the Steelers defense, especially getting TJ Watt back. I'm with you. Give me the Steelers as well.
There you go. All right. Fun week ahead. Fun weekend ahead. We'll see if the Bears can take care of business. Reminder, we have a tailgate on Sunday, so if you want to come out for the last regular season tailgate, you are more than welcome. You can get tickets at allchgo.com/events. We'll have tailgates for the playoffs as well. Merch is all up as well. Check it out in the CHGO merch store. You can go to allchgo.com. Click on merch, and the whole Hoge Jahns collection is there as well. We will be back on Monday morning, live on YouTube at 9 a.m. to recap the last regular season game and start looking ahead to the playoffs. We'll see what it all looks like when the weekend is over. We'll